Uber's the most ethically challenged company in Silicon Valley.
Hello, wealth tycoons. Do you know how Uber came into existence? Travis Kalanick and Garrett were friends who got lost on a cold night in Paris in 2008. They couldn't get a car, and it was easy to feel their anger. While waiting for the ride, they had an idea. What if all you had to do to get a car was press a button on your phone? You won't have to wait, wave, or guess. A car will be at your service in minutes. So basically, Uber came to birth because of a couple of friends' inconvenience. Now let's find out how Uber grew, evolved, and took a completely different path over the years. Let's get started. When Uber, a tech company that wants to change how people get around, started in 2009, the idea became a reality. At first, Uber focused on high-end cars. It started offering a service with sleek black cars driven by professional drivers for high-class people in San Francisco. Instead of the chaos of hailing a cab on a busy street, it was high-end, stylish, and private. But being rich was only the beginning. They knew that their tool could help a lot more people than just the rich. Why should they only serve a small group of wealthy people? They saw a chance to make rides available to everyone. This change caused UberX to be made in 2012, a service that let normal people use their cars to give rides. It was less expensive, gave people more options, and was open to a lot more people. UberX turned regular people with cars into drivers, giving them the freedom to set their own hours and make money. Riders got cheap rides that showed up quickly, and it was all controlled through an app. UberX was not just an improvement, it changed everything. It put traditional taxi services to the test, gave millions of people their first experience with ride-hailing, and changed the transportation business all over the world. With UberX, the app went from being an expensive item to a worldwide hit. Travis Kalanick, Uber's outspoken and ambitious CEO, was at the center of this change. He kept the company going with unwavering energy, focused on fast growth and dominating the market. Some people didn't like the way he led, but everyone agreed on his goal, to make Uber the best way to get around, no matter who you were or where you needed to go. UberX did more than just make the company bigger. It also changed the way people thought about getting around. An idea that came from anger turned into a service that changed the way towns and people move. Travis Kalanick was the man behind Uber. He was a thinker, a disruptor, and a troublemaker all at the same time. Not only was he CEO, but he was also the personification of Uber's fast-paced, constant attitude. Travis was smart and driven, but he was also known for being rude and never saying sorry. He's like the crazy scientist of Silicon Valley, willing to break the rules or bend them to get what he wants. Uber didn't just grow while he was in charge, it exploded. The business grew so quickly that it was hard to keep up. It moved into city after city, often breaking local rules as it went. Travis didn't just want to do well, he wanted to wipe out everyone else. His one-word motto? It wasn't just a slogan at Uber, it was how people lived their lives. But there was a bad side to this constant hustle. Travis was obsessed with success and growth, which led to a work environment where cockiness and breaking the rules were not only accepted, but often praised. Workers were put under a lot of stress and had to work long hours in a place where results were more important than ethics. The drivers who make Uber's business possible often took the brunt of this attitude. Many people signed up for the platform because they thought it would give them flexible hours and good pay. However, they ended up being underpaid, overworked, and having to pay for their own gas and car maintenance. Uber did very well, but its drivers often had trouble making ends meet. Then there was the business itself. Uber didn't just break the rules sometimes, it pretty much never did. Uber under Travis was known for taking shortcuts to stay ahead. For example, they would work in places without the right licenses and use Greyball, a controversial tool to avoid police. The company put fast growth ahead of following the law, which got it in trouble with regulators, rivals, and even some of its own employees. Many people had strong feelings about Travis Kalanick. Some people thought he was brilliant because he changed the way people got around and made a worldwide sensation. Some people saw him as the perfect example of Silicon Valley's move fast and break things attitude, which led to a lot of trouble, abuse, and ruined reputations. Uber reached amazing heights while he was in charge, but he also set the company up for its biggest problems. It wasn't just Uber's job to share rides, it was also to fight. It fought rivals, governments, taxi unions, and pretty much anyone else who got in its way. Uber also didn't always play fair when it fought. If you have enjoyed the video so far, you can appreciate our efforts by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Honestly, we put in a lot of effort to do the deep research. Moving back to Uber's story, Uber's most controversial move was a tool called Greyball. This is how it worked. If Uber was banned or being investigated in a place, the company would use Greyball to get around the law. Say someone from the government tried to use the Uber app to catch drivers who were breaking the law. So they wouldn't see real cars, they would see fake ones or none at all. Uber's actions were hidden in plain sight, like a digital magic trick. It was smart, but it brought up a lot of moral and legal issues. This way of getting around rules helped Uber work in tough markets, but it also made the company known as one that is ready to break the rules to win. The rough way Uber treated its drivers was another sign of how competitive it was. The company strongly promoted the idea of flexible, well-paying work to grow quickly and keep prices low. People who wanted to become drivers were told they could make a lot of money and be their own boss. However, the truth often fell short. A lot of drivers found that their actual pay was much lower than what they were told it would be after paying for gas, repairs, and insurance. When drivers complained that they were having a hard time making ends meet, no one seemed to care. When Travis Kalanick was in charge, Uber took a firm stand. There was no way that Travis could lower Uber's share of the fare or raise prices for riders. Doing so would slow growth, and Travis had to have growth. This aggressive approach helped Uber grow quickly, but it also made the company less stable. Uber became a symbol of Silicon Valley's win-at-all-costs mindset by making drivers angry, breaking the law, and playing dirty. Their plan worked for a short time, but it hurt their reputation and their ability to stay stable in the long run. Uber's success didn't just bring them money and fame, it also made them a lot of enemies. There were also some very bad fights within the company itself. By 2017, Uber had been involved in a lot of problems. People said that the company had a bad work environment full of sexism and abuse. A lot of lawsuits were being filed over everything from claims of intellectual property theft to drivers' rights issues. Uber's aggressive business tactics, such as using Greyball to avoid regulators, were also getting a lot of attention from the public and the law. In the middle of all the chaos, a lot of investors started to doubt Travis Kalanick's ability to lead. Kalanick was Uber's brash CEO in the face of its rapid rise, but he was also the worst thing about the company. His strict price style, which was once praised for speeding up Uber's growth, was now seen as a problem. When news stories about problems within the company made the rounds, several top leaders either quit or turned against him. Investors took over the office and forced Travis to quit the company he helped start. Imagine how painful it would be to be kicked out of your own creation. It was a tough pill for Travis to swallow, but Uber had to take that step in order to start fixing its image. Dara Khosrowshahi is the new CEO, and her job is to clean up the huge mess that has been made. Travis was the crazy genius who made the house, and Dara was the sensible, calm person who fixed it. He was told to fix Uber's bad reputation with the public, fix problems inside the company, and most importantly, make the business profitable. One problem that Uber has had for a long time is keeping people safe. With millions of rides every day, the platform turned into a place where both ease and danger could happen. It started to be said that riders and drivers were being harassed, attacked, and even committing violent crimes. These events were not isolated. They showed that Uber's safety measures are not working as well as they should. At first, the company was rude, pointing out that it was more of a technology platform than a transportation source. This position let Uber avoid responsibility, but anger from the public finally forced a change. To handle safety concerns, the company added GPS tracking, anonymous contact, and an emergency button inside the app. Even though these steps helped, Uber's image was still hurt. The human cost of its business model was another important problem. Uber's success was built on the work of millions of drivers who, despite being promised freedom and high pay, often had trouble making ends meet. Many drivers made a lot less than they thought they would after paying for things like gas, repairs, and insurance. Drivers rallied all over the world for better working conditions and fair pay. Some people find it too hard to deal with the stress of money problems and lack of security. Because Uber considered its drivers to be independent contractors, the company did not offer them perks like health insurance or paid leave. This made the gap between the company's success and its employees' struggles even bigger. It was not easy for Uber to get self-driving cars to work. The company wanted self-driving cars to take the place of human drivers, which it called the future of transportation. But this drive for new ideas cost something. In Arizona in 2018, an Uber self-driving car hit and killed a person. This was the first death caused by an autonomous vehicle. The tragedy showed how dangerous it can be to rush into unknown territory without enough safety measures in place. Uber is all about rides in cars, right? The catch is that Uber doesn't own any cars. Instead, it used a new and controversial business plan called asset light to build its empire. Uber is just a big middleman because millions of regular people use their cars to give rides. This way of doing things was completely new. Uber didn't have to pay the huge costs of keeping a fleet of cars because they didn't own any. But there's a catch. Those costs didn't go away. They were just given to the drivers. Tires, gas, insurance, and even normal wear and tear. There you have it for the drivers. Uber benefits, but drivers don't really. A lot of people were having trouble keeping up with their bills while Uber kept a big chunk of each fare. Uber didn't just do cars, though. The business has always been crazy about trying new things. They've played around with bikes, scooters, helicopters, and even flying cabs over the years. Some ideas, like Uber Eats, were huge hits and helped the company grow into food delivery. Who else? Not really. Uber's idea of flying cars, while interesting, seemed more like a sci-fi dream than a practical business plan. Just a small break from Uber to tell you that if you are enjoying watching this business video, you should go watch all the other videos available on our channel. You will get huge business insights from there. But complete watching this one first. Here we go. Then there was Uber Pool, a service that let people share a ride in the cost with other people going in the same way. At first glance, it seemed like a good way to save money and make traffic less bad. It might be a nightmare in real life. Uber Pool was hit or miss because of long delays, awkward silences, and passengers who didn't follow basic social rules. Uber has stayed ahead of the game by being ready to try new things, even if not all of them worked. The company may make cars as its main product, but its push for new ideas shows that it's always looking for the next big thing, even if some of those ideas don't work out. When Uber started to clean up its act after years of trouble, lawsuits, and chaos, it did so slowly. The company changed its direction towards stability and responsibility when Dara Khosrowshahi took over. To handle growing concerns about rider and driver safety, new safety features were added, such as emergency buttons in the app and more thorough background checks on drivers. Also, some steps were taken to improve the benefits drivers got, but the progress was slow. Small changes to rules on wages and the ability to leave tips helped, but they weren't enough to fix bigger problems in the system. Uber did something huge in 2019. It went public on the New York Stock Exchange. The initial public offering, IPO, was a turning point for the business, marking its quick rise from a scrappy startup to a global giant. Uber raised a huge amount of money, which made it even stronger as a star in the ride-sharing business. But the happiness was dampened by the harsh truth. Uber wasn't making any money, even though it was very successful. The trouble is that it costs a lot to rule the ride-sharing world. As Uber grew around the world, it gave drivers bonuses and put billions of dollars into new businesses like food delivery and self-driving cars. Its fares were kept low to draw riders, but they often weren't enough to cover the full cost of running the business. Even though the company raised prices in some places, it was still hard for them to figure out how to make money without turning off riders or making things even harder for drivers. Uber has continued to improve its strategy while Dara has been in charge, cutting costs and leaving markets that aren't profitable. The focus has changed from growth at all costs to operations that can last. Still, the question remains, can Uber make money without giving up on its main goal of providing cheap and easy rides? The journey isn't over yet, and Uber's final success will depend on how well they find that balance. It doesn't matter if you like Uber or not, it changed the world. A simple idea to make it easy to get a ride turned into a worldwide phenomenon that changed businesses, economies, and the way we think about work. The Uber app is more than just an app. It's the face of the gig economy, which lets people work when and how they want. For many, it was a lifesaver because it gave them a way to make money without having to work from 9 to 5. But being free costs something. Uber drivers quickly learned that gig work has a lot of problems, including low pay, no benefits like health insurance or paid time off, and no job stability. Uber considered its drivers to be independent contractors, which freed the company from many of the duties that come with being an employer. However, this meant that workers had to take on a lot of risks and costs. It wasn't just workers who felt it. Uber changed the way people move around places in a big way. Many people who live in cities no longer need to own cars because ride-hailing services make it easy to get around without having to worry about parking or repairs. In a world where Uber and buses and trains are all competing for passenger, public transportation has had to change. Why not cab drivers? Many people are still angry that they lost business to this new company that can't be ignored. Taxi unions regularly sued Uber and held protests in places all over the world. Now, what should we learn from this crazy, messy story? Uber's story is a complicated mix of smarts and greed, new ideas, and taking advantage of people. It's both a reminder of how one big idea can change an entire business and a warning about what can happen when you let your ambition run wild. Uber's quick rise showed both the good and bad sides of Silicon Valley, which often praises innovation without considering the human cost. Even if you think of Uber as a bad company that takes advantage of people, one thing is clear: it's not just a business. It shows how science and drive can make the world a better or worse place. Uber's story isn't over yet, even though it's been a wild ride so far. What do you think might come next? Share your opinion in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. You can also go through the rest of the business videos available on our channel to learn things. See you soon in another video.